Muy buenos días, los saludo con mucho gusto. Mi nombre es Ivette Hernández y el día de hoy tenemos el gusto de recibir en esta plataforma de CHHA 1610 AM a Ahmed Hussen. Él es Ministro de Desarrollo Internacional de Canadá. Con motivo de su reciente visita a Guatemala y Honduras, conversaremos con el ministro Hussen sobre el propósito de este viaje y el objetivo del apoyo canadiense hacia estas regiones de Centroamérica. Welcome, Minister, and thank you so much for the opportunity to have this interview.
Thank you so much for having me this morning, and I really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you.
Let's start. Regarding your latest visit to Guatemala and Honduras, can you please tell us the purpose of this visit?
The purpose of this visit was to engage with both countries' governments on issues that are important to both Honduras and Guatemala and Canada. Second, I wanted to have a chance to, for myself, see the Canadian development projects both in Guatemala and Honduras, and then also work with the organizations and partners with Canada who are helping us to implement projects on the ground. There's also other governments who are also engaged locally, and the United Nations agencies, but also governments like the United States and others who we work together with to promote common priorities for Guatemala and for Honduras. So it's a very impactful visit I found, and I really got the opportunity to engage both with those governments, but also with the communities, with the municipalities, with the organizations, and with other partners who have projects on the ground.
Preguntando cuál fue el propósito de esta reciente visita a Guatemala y Honduras, el ministro Hussen nos está platicando que, bueno, el objetivo fue reunirse principalmente con representantes de Honduras y Guatemala, y también recalcó el lanzamiento de algunas iniciativas, algunos proyectos. Minister, you said about the launch of initiatives, some initiatives. What kind of projects are you going to support in this region, Central America?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll start with Guatemala. We have a very big and effective development program in Guatemala and also in Honduras. So I'll start with Guatemala. We have a very important project, which I saw for myself, led by the Tula Health Foundation. So Tula Health Foundation has been in Guatemala for more than 20 years, and we trust them, and they're very effective. They're engaged in providing healthcare access to people in remote communities of Guatemala, rural areas. And so while I was there, I announced new funding of more than $6 million to the Tula Health Foundation to allow rural communities to have better access to health services. So the project, for example, that I announced is to support the training of more midwives so that we can reduce maternal deaths and improve the health of mothers and babies. We're also supporting a project to improve reproductive rights of indigenous women and girls, and we're using digital health systems so that remote communities can have quick and reliable health access. And we also want to, we're implementing through that funding healthcare that respects biomedical as well as indigenous local practices and culture. So this is very effective, and Tula Health Foundation has been a great partner. And I was able to visit the institute. I was able to see a demonstration of this work, and I was able to connect remotely with other communities through the technology that they're using. So it's very effective. They're already doing the work, but we're giving them over $6 million to do more of that. Okay. So that's just one. We also have another project with a Canadian social enterprise called Sokodevi. In that project, we're providing $5 million $5 million to benefit 1,250 Guatemalan women and young people. And they will then reach 450,000 people who will work directly or indirectly through the tourism sector. So it's about empowerment, it's about training for tourism-related jobs and skills. And then in Honduras, we have a very strong project called Sabores de Honduras. And that project is to support farmers who are growing coffee and producing honey. And I announced $10.7 million in Honduras for that project, the Sabores de Honduras project. It's about cooperativos. And what they're doing is they're accessing market better. They're producing better quality agricultural products, in this case, coffee and honey. And they're exporting and they are marketing better. So they're making more money and providing more economic opportunities to their families and their communities. We also have another project in Honduras together with Lawyers Without Borders, $16.8 million, where we're supporting access to justice for vulnerable people, especially women. And there we are training lawyers, we're training civil society organizations to help them access the justice system. I was also able to visit, while I was in Guatemala, I visited a receiving center for migrants so that they're processed better, they get health services. We work with the Red Cross to provide healthcare services. We work with the International Organization of Migration. There is a project that trains and provides capital, money to start businesses and grow businesses for Guatemalan women so that they don't engage in dangerous migration, irregular migration. There's so many other support we give, almost over $750 million to the World Food Program to provide emergency food assistance to people who are food insecure in Guatemala. We're providing support to a network of receiving centers all throughout Honduras and Guatemala, so that people, when they're traveling through Honduras and Guatemala, that they are doing so in a humane way, that they're protected, that they're not taken advantage of. We're also, of course, supporting both Honduras and Guatemala in terms of building resilience in host communities who are going through the burden of receiving tens of thousands of people every day. It's really, the volumes have increased, and we have to do everything that we can to support those communities.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that information. I'm going to translate just the highlights of this.
Okay.
Brevemente, el ministro Hussen nos está hablando de programas, de algunas iniciativas que se están lanzando en estas dos naciones. Nos menciona uno en especial en el país de Guatemala llamado Tula, en el que se anunciaron $6 millones en el financiamiento para mejorar los derechos, por ejemplo, del acceso a la salud. También nos menciona que algunas iniciativas están encaminadas a los derechos de reproductividad. Nos habla también de otro en el país de Honduras, de un programa que se llama Sabores de Honduras, el cual apoyará a productores de café y miel. Y bueno, recalcando también que estas iniciativas se enfocan en el acceso, por ejemplo, de servicios para personas vulnerables, y también están financiando la seguridad alimentaria. Esos son solo algunos aspectos destacados de la información que nos acaba de compartir. So, how are these projects? Sorry.
I forgot to mention two main points. One is an additional project we're funding, $5 million to help cattle ranching. So to help farmers, including ranching families, particularly women, young people, and indigenous communities. We're helping them, we're providing $5 million so that they can use satellite technology to adapt to climate change and to promote better cattle ranching practices. So what the satellite technology helps them with is to monitor the land, to monitor the pasture quality, and to reduce inefficiency, because you can use the satellite information to know where to go and where not to go, instead of just going around and wasting time. So it saves them a lot of energy and time, and that's number one. The second one I forgot to mention is the Sabores de Honduras project. This Canadian funding of over 10.7 million, the investment will enable this group of women who are exporting coffee and honey to become the second largest coffee exporter in the country. Because before the engagement with Soko Davy and the Canadian government, they were already doing the coffee. But we have helped them through this investment and previous investments to improve the quality of the coffee, to improve the supply chain, to improve the value addition, to improve the marketing, and to become more ready for export. So the funding has actually enabled them to come to Canada, to present their products, to access provincial markets, and they will now become the second largest exporter of coffee from Honduras. So we're very proud of that project.
Thank you so much. Nos platicaba que este programa específicamente Sabores de Honduras, que va a apoyar a productores de café, va a recibir un fondo de $10.7 millones y importante mencionar que apoyará la exportación y pretende que Honduras se convierta en uno de los principales exportadores de café en el mundo, el segundo, él menciona. También nos mencionó otro monto, $5 millones para apoyar en tecnología, sobre todo para ayudar con el cambio climático para granjeros. Minister, how are these projects expected to impact local communities of Guatemala and Honduras?
Well, first of all, the local communities run the projects. We're just there to be partners, but they are the ones who are designing the projects, they're the ones who are running the projects, and they're the ones who are benefiting from the projects. The Sabores de Honduras and all the other projects, there's local ownership of the project, and you can see the leadership that's coming out of that. I met two refugees in Guatemala, one from Venezuela and the other one she was from El Salvador, I believe, and both of them, through Canadian funding, were able to get small loans to start businesses. They've both now settled in Guatemala, they've started businesses, and they've hired local people, and they're doing very well. So the local people are benefiting immensely. The health project with Tula Health Foundation, you see the benefits. I was sitting there when someone came in and they were providing the information to this digital platform. So the access to health services in indigenous communities and rural communities in Guatemala, I was able to talk virtually with a medical professional in a very remote mountainous part of northern Guatemala. And he was explaining to me how this project for healthcare is making a big difference in the community. The Sabores de Honduras, I spoke directly to the different cooperatives. There's so many cooperatives, and then there's a federation. It's mainly led by women, and they were telling me directly how much it has benefited them economically. They're doing very well financially, and they're very, very happy with the Canadian support of that project. So I would say that Canada has been a very good partner. And by the way, our development program in Honduras is even bigger than the one in Guatemala. So my focus this trip was to really see for myself what we're doing in both countries and look at further ways in which we can support those communities. I also met with government ministers to see how we can support, how we can partner together to leverage each other's priorities and support each other. When I was in Guatemala, I met the President Arevalo, and he's, of course, engaged in reforming the Guatemalan governance system, reducing corruption, good governance, promoting human rights. All of those things are things that Canada believes in. So we're supporting him, and I had a very good meeting to see how we can work closer together, how we can improve more collaboration on all sorts of issues: climate, trade and investment, peace and security and stability in the region, infrastructure. He has a lot of plans for that. So are the people of the government of Honduras. So Canada has a big role to play in the region. This is a hemisphere that we believe strongly in, and I believe organizations like the America's Partnership for Economic Prosperity will enable Canada to do more in this region.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to translate the highlights of this answer. Nos está explicando el ministro que se reunió, por ejemplo, con refugiados en estos dos países, Honduras y Guatemala, con refugiados, quienes demostraron que a través de este financiamiento canadiense ha podido ayudarles en su proceso de asentamiento. Por ejemplo, hablando directamente con las comunidades, pudo observar, pudo sí, ver los beneficios, escuchar de la gente de los beneficios que este apoyo, bueno, está haciendo la diferencia. También, por ejemplo, nos menciona que se reunió con ministros gubernamentales en ambos países y específicamente se reunió con el presidente de Guatemala también. Y nos habla, bueno, del importante rol que tiene Canadá en el impacto de estas comunidades. Honorable Minister Hussen, thank you so much for your time and for sharing more about the Canada's international development funding. Would you like to share anything else?
Just to thank you for the opportunity for this interview, and to say to you, but through you also to your audience, that Canada is a friend of Latin America. We are a partner. We've always been there and will continue to be there. We want to be an even stronger partner on trade, on development, on security, on women's empowerment, on indigenous issues, on young people, on skills training and development, on the creation of decent jobs, on stronger people-to-people ties. We're in the same neighborhood. Let's work even more closely together for the prosperity of our peoples. Our priorities are your priorities. So let's work closer together. And I believe that this is the time to come closer together through the different organizations and forums that exist in this area. And my trip to the region has reinforced for me the importance of Canada in this region, and how our priorities are really your priorities. And so I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you. We appreciate this opportunity, and thank you. Gracias.